Hello everyone. In the analysis part of the lab, you are asked to plot a graph, actually two graphs. One of them is the maximum static friction versus the normal force, and the second graph is the kinetic friction versus the normal force. Now, if you plot these two graphs, what do you expect to get? Are you going to get a curve, a parabola, a horizontal line, a straight line, curve concave down? So in order to be able to figure out what type of graph we'll get, let's look at the equation. Let's look at the equation of friction and see what type of slope we are going to get. If we are going to get a constant value slope and a constant y-intercept, then the graph will yield a straight line. If the slope is variable or the y-intercept is variable, then we'll get a nonlinear graph. Now let's look at the equation here. Now this is the equation that relates friction to normal force. And this is the general equation of straight line. Y equal m, where m is the slope, x is the x-axis, and b is the y-intercept. Now here in this graph of friction versus normal force, we are taking the friction to be the y-axis. So the y-axis is the friction. And we are taking the normal force to be the x-axis. So you can see here, if we project the general equation of straight line over the equation of our graph, the friction is the y-axis, the normal force is the x-axis. Those are the equal signs that will overlap, and the slope will be the coefficient of friction. And the y-intercept will be 0. And this is applicable to the static friction and the kinetic friction. The kinetic friction versus the normal force, then the coefficient will be the kinetic friction coefficient. So here when you plot the first graph, the first column will be the maximum static friction. You can adjust here, and of course this will be in Newton. I'm not going to plot the graph here, I'm just showing you how to set it up. Then the second column will be the normal force, Newton. You'll type your values out of table 1, and you'll follow the steps that we did in the first lab, the graphs lab. Find the slope, the y-intercept, plot the graph, do the trend line steps. And this will be the first graph. Now for the second graph, you don't need to open a new Microsoft Excel file. What you can do here, you'll click on the new sheet at the bottom. So this will create sheet 2. And now you can do the same steps here. So instead of static friction, now in sheet number 2, you'll do the kinetic friction. Newton, you can adjust the border here. And the second column is normal force, Newton. And input the data. Make sure you follow the steps of plotting straight line graph, finding the slope, the y-intercept, the equation of the graph, fit the points using the trend line feature. Then you can save it. Click Save As and save it to your hard drive, and you'll upload it to the pertinent question in the lab assessment. Now, since the slope is equal to the coefficient of friction, using this table here in the procedure document, you'll be able to tell what type of surface and object you had sliding against each other. Alright, I hope you found this video educational. Thank you.